The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kohler Arms, America's competition shotgun, and is fueled by Fiocchi.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast, coming in hot with everything you want to hear about sporting clays. With your hosts, Jason Rambo.
This is what I have to work with, everyone.
And Sean Alley.
Like I said, I was just thirsty.
Oh, boy.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. It's the Dead Pair Podcast. It's showtime.
Welcome back, everyone. What's up there, Mr. Sean Alley?
Jason, doing pretty good, man. Looking forward to all the stuff coming up the rest of this year. How you been?
Dude, if I was any better, they'd have to bury me twice.
Oh, goodness. That's not sure how to take that one.
Well, it's just been a lot of fun here recently, and it's been quite enjoyable. Sean Alley, we're always talking about at the end of this program, taking someone new shooting, taking them to a tournament.
That's right.
And I had an awesome opportunity. But real quick, before we get to that, Sean, we've got a tourney talk to get to.
We do.
It's Tourney Talk. Brought to you by Score Chaser.
All right, guys, just wanted to update you on the 2026 Idaho State is now open for registration. That is going to be June 17th through the 21st at Rock Creek Ranch.
Awesome.
Back to you, Jason.
Well, I'm a big motocross nut, and anybody that knows motocross knows who David Pingree is. He's an icon in the sport. He has the Whiskey Throttle Media. He does podcasts, a lot of interviews, a lot of bike testing, that kind of thing. Really cool channel. Anyway, yep. I sent a message out to him, and he was all about it. So I flew out there, and Grant Langston, who is a former Supercross and Motocross champion, was supposed to join us, but he he retired. He bought him and his family have a KTM dealership, and then he also bought a sandwich shop called Benny's. Mm-hmm. And the freezer took a crap on him, so he wasn't able to make it. But we did go down afterwards and hang out with him. If you guys are out in Marietta, California, you got to go to Benny's. Incredible food. Anyway, took Ping shooting, and he had an absolute blast. And there's a little hint, little tidbit coming there at the end of the interview that he talks about that we're going to work on. But you weren't able to make it for the interview, Sean.
No, the time schedule with him being in California, I had something going on that night, just couldn't make it. And to further explain where we're going with this, folks, everybody's probably wondering now why we've got a motocross guy on the Sporting Clays podcast shooting. Well, what we're really focusing on right now is the growth of the sport, how things used to be back in the day. Jason, I think you said it was like the 80s and 90s when motocross and supercross kind of finally really took off. And the reason we did this podcast with David was the fact that he had some insight on where it started at and how it got to where it is, and maybe some feedback, some pros and cons, some things they did that might have helped it to blossom into what it is today, correct?
Yeah, so the whole thought process behind this, and the reason why, that I wanted to take David shooting is, one, I wanted him to have some context of what we do, we meaning sporting clay shooters. And then I wanted to do a podcast with him on the growth of the sport, because we are right now in sporting clays what Supercross was in the late 80s, early 90s. Motocross has been around in this country forever, but Supercross was fairly new. And at that time, that age that it was is about where we're at right now in the age of our sport. So I wanted to ask him, what went wrong, as you guys were kind of, gaining legs to the sport that you thought we should have done different. Like, what can we learn from that? And he had some really interesting perspectives, some really interesting things to say. And that's why I took him shooting. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast. Cause I know, Sean, you looked at me like I was, had a unicorn head when I told you what I wanted to do, but then I think you kind of got it, right?
No, I absolutely did. I mean, and I think it's good to have an outside perspective. Number one, you took the guy shooting, so that's awesome on you. Kudos to you for that. Introduced him to what we do. And then hopefully between his shooting with you and his memory of how Supercross came to be what it is today, gave some correlation on like maybe what we can do moving forward to help grow the sport, and maybe some things that we don't want to do that might go the other direction.
Yeah. And, I know you weren't able to make it for that interview, but you asked some really good questions. He had some fabulous answers too. So I'm excited for you to hear this interview, Sean. And then also another thank you to Matt Miller for writing in a few questions. And I want to real quick, a very huge thank you to Chad Roberts and his fiance, Jen, the hospitality that they showed me, welcoming me into their home. I mean, it was, you'd have thought I was like royalty or something. They treated me really well, and I really appreciate it. Also, thank you to Rahagis for letting us come out and shoot. Great facility. If you're out in California, you need to check it out. And thank you to Payne for doing this.
Jay, we almost forgot something. We have decided the final drawing date for our Dead Pair Kohler gun, haven't we?
Yes. So, oh my goodness, Sean, I can't believe you forgot that. I'm blaming you.
I know. Just lay it on me.
But no, we've decided, since doesn't look like we're going to be able to pull off a Dead Pair blast this year, we are going to draw for the gun at the national championship. We're going to do it right at Kohler, which would be kind of cool. And then the Kids and Clays guys are going to get us everything. We're going to tally all the tickets together basically at the last minute, because there'll be tickets for sale there at the Nationals too, right, Sean?
That's right. Yeah, and we'll do an actual physical drawing, in front of everybody there at the Kohler booth. And the lucky person will be able to claim that gun as their own.
Yeah, and then we'll do it live, probably through YouTube or Facebook or both. So that way the folks that bought tickets that aren't attending the national championship have a chance to check it out. Probably YouTube, I think, is a little more universal. Not everybody has a Facebook profile, so we'll do the whole thing live. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and somebody will finally get to take that beauty home.
I wish it was
just
me.
not us.
I wish it was me. But anyway, hey, Sean, I'm excited for you to hear this interview. I can't even talk right now. I'm so giddy about it. So,
well, let's get to it then.
Well, let's do it. Hey, everyone. Each and every week you hear Sean and I brag about our sponsors. And it's not because they sponsor the show. It's because of their products and the unmatched customer support behind each and every single one of those products. We hope you're taking the time to investigate for yourself, try the products out, and see why we love them so much. Hey, Toby Tomplay, you want to remind everyone who we're talking about?
I'd love to, Jason. Kohler Arms, America's competition shotgun. Fiocchi USA. Here at the Dead Pair, we're fueled by Fiocchi. Ranger Performance Eyewear. See it further, see it faster, see it clearer with Ranger. Atlas Traps, America's finest clay target equipment. Rhino Chokes. For deadly patterns and knockdown power, choose Rhino. Long Range, the industry standard for trap release and target management systems. Taconic Distillery. After the tournament is over, it's time for one more shot with Taconic Distillery. Score Chaser, your shoots simplified. Clay Range Design Works, your one-stop shop for all your clay target needs. And now, back to the show.
All right, on the phone with me is Mr. David Pingree. David is a former factory motocross and supercross rider, originally from Montana. He has collected multiple supercross and supermoto wins, as well as an X Game medal. He then did some broadcasting and even managed the Troy Lee Designs race team, all while writing for different publications. David helped found the Whiskey Throttle Media Company, where he now does his own podcasting and videos. Ping has also went to school for a firefighter and paramedic school, which he is now his full-time gig. I recently flew to California, where he now lives, and along with Chad Roberts, we took him to Rahagis to introduce him to Sporting Clays. Welcome to the show, David Pingree. What's up, Ping?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Stoked to be here. And, I'm a big fan of our rights to own weapons. And it was really fun to go out with you guys and watch somebody shoot them that knows what the hell they're doing. I'm a bit of an amateur, but I do dig it.
Well, David, you were telling me, like when we originally talked on the phone about doing all this, Larry Ward, former factory racer, now works for Scotty Robertson at his ranch, and you went out there and did some shooting there. So you had a little taste of it, I guess you could say.
I did. Yeah. I mean, we've shot, clay pigeons out here just with a little hand thrower, full hillbilly style. I've done that a handful of times. There's a ranch called there's a couple different private ranches out here. But anyway, we did go back and shoot an episode of my show which is called the Whiskey Throttle Show, with Larry Ward in Oklahoma. And so he gave us the full tour of the ranch, and we got to do long range rifle stuff, the pistol bays, and then, his little trap shooting deal, which was really fun. And I've always been, like I said, looking forward to more. And when you guys introduced me to that place out here, I didn't even know it existed, which is a little embarrassing because it's right in my backyard. But I have every intention of going back and getting into it more because I really enjoyed it.
Well, that's really cool. That's what we want to hear. I mean, that's Sean and I's big thing, which, by the way, folks, Sean was not able to join us this evening, but Sean and I's big thing on the show is take someone who's shooting, take them to a tournament, and we gave you a taste. I mean, we did. We took you around Rahagis, and I think you got a taste of it, but I guess to put it in comparison, David, it'd be like learning to ride a motocross bike and only going on the figure 8 track. You know what I mean? As compared to a tournament that's like going on a full-blown supercross track. So, but you got a taste of it and you had a lot of fun, man. I mean, you were smiles all the way around the course.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. And the cool thing is you don't have to be great at it to enjoy it. Because unless you're full retard, you're going to hit one here and there. And it's like being a golfer and you suck, but you catch that one good shot and you're like, ooh, that was cool. Let's do it again. That's what keeps you coming back. So
yeah,
you guys were helping me with technique and the right way to go about it. And it was helping for sure. So I just need to get some reps in now, man. I got to get back up there and blow through some rounds,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And take Grant with you, which, by the way, everyone, Grant Langston, who's also a former Supercross and Motocross champion, was supposed to join us, but he had to play refrigerator repairman. We ended up going he's got a sandwich shop. Is that it's not Marietta, is it?
Yeah, it's Marietta.
Is it Marietta? Okay. But, and oh my gosh, what a great place to eat too. But if you're ever out there, you got to go check it out. Benny's it's called Benny's, right? Yeah.
Yep. Benny's Sub Shop. Yep.
But, anyway, he wasn't able to make it, but we did go hang out with him. But yeah, I mean, Grant was like super bummed that he couldn't go, and sounds like you got somebody to go shooting with you, David.
Oh, no, he's ready anytime. I just got to find a time when he's not being pulled one of his directions. He runs 2 different businesses, so he's a busy guy, but he loves to shoot. Like I said, he and I just got to make the time to get out.
Yeah. Well, like I said, David, we only gave you a small taste of it, but could you see we would show you a station like, okay, this is normally 4 pairs, and then you would go to your next station. Could you see where competing, it's got a little bit of similarities mentally between the two sports of, like motocross and sporting clays?
Well, yeah, I mean, anything that has, the concentration factor, hand-eye coordination, there's a lot of things that do tie in. And then the pressure of competing, we were talking about that the day we went up there. It's one thing to just be with your buddies and shoot a few here and there, but when it's like, okay, now everybody's watching you, now points count, maybe you're shooting for money. It changes it completely. And anyone who's competed in anything, you understand that feeling, that extra adrenaline, and how much more difficult it is to focus through that, block that out, and kind of quiet your mind and just focus on what you're doing. So I totally see the similarities there. And, something that you guys said that really resonated with me was, it's the safest sport there is. Like, if you look at the number of injuries or deaths, it's like pretty close to 0. I mean, it's and I thought, yeah, that's a great point. I never really thought about that, but
yeah.
And it's a great argument for the wingnuts who are anti-gun, just say, well, find me a sport that's safer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's unfortunately, and we know where I know where you're at politically, and you're on the conservative side, and as well as I do, the media doesn't always treat us gun guys very well. So it is an uphill battle, and we've talked about
Whoa, the media isn't fair and unbiased? Are you
right?
It isn't so.
Yeah. Ask your governor out there. He'll tell you all about it. So, but no, I don't mean to get political, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
It's an uphill battle. It really is.
I live in California. It doesn't get any worse.
The craziest thing is it's like LA Clays, which used to be Triple B's, for years and years and years, they were the second largest club in the country for the most amount of registered targets thrown in a year. So the amount of shooting that goes on in California is really huge. You wouldn't think so because it is such a, a blue state, but
Well, they say it's a blue state, but you know what it is? It's 3 blue cities that just happen to have a lot of population and a lot of corrupt government officials. And so I think when you see the voter rolls cleaned up and illegals pulled off of them, you're going to see this state change, because outside of San Diego, LA, and San Francisco, it's a very conservative state.
Yeah.
And so a lot of Second Amendment, just a lot of constitutional purists out here. We're just overwhelmed by all of the idiocy in the big cities.
And it's funny because Chad and I were driving back from shooting with you that day, and I was looking around. I was like, man, it's such a beautiful state. It's a shame, the politics. It's almost like a black eye on a supermodel, right? I mean, that's what it seems like to me, and it's
maybe herpes,
right? One other thing too, David, and you can say this about any sport, but I think you'll agree with me. Much motocross and sporting clays, supercross, whatever. I don't care. You could even say NBA, NFL, any of it. When you get to the very peak of the game, the players, it's not that one guy has a huge skill set over another. It's basically, it comes down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. And, when you have guys like Brandon Powell, which I know you don't know who that is, but right now he's the pinnacle in our sport. He just, in fact, over the weekend, won another world championship. They were over there. They were at EJ Churchill in England, and he won another world championship. And that guy has learned how to minimize his mistakes. And I guess you could say that right now, Jet Lawrence is doing that in motocross.
Yeah, I've always said that it's really impressive to watch anyone who's a professional at their craft. I don't care what it is, if it's a sport or, occupation. To watch someone who's a true pro and the best at what they're doing, it's impressive. And I think oftentimes there's a lot of people that have the same amount of ability.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will work hard and put in the time, do the reps, do the work. It comes down to who has a stronger mental game, because it's a game of millimeters at the very, very top. And if there's 10 guys who are all the same skill level on a track, they could be within a tenth of a second on a lap time. At a sporting clays event, it's, with no pressure, these guys are all just killing everything. But when the pressure's on, when it's, there's distractions, there's tension, there's whatever, who can pull it together mentally and be the strongest and clearest thinking? That's the guy that gets it done. And, when a guy figures that out, like Jet Lawrence has in our sport, or this Brandon, what's his last name?
Brandon Powell.
Yeah, I mean, he just sounds like he's just in that sweet spot, where he's not even thinking about it. It's just happening.
Well, don't get me wrong. To watch anybody, any pro do something, it's very impressive, right? And I could name you, I don't know, 50 guys right now at the top of our game. A bunch of names you wouldn't know who these people are, but what I'm getting at is you can watch them shoot a station with big targets and they don't miss, or if they do, it's just maybe they missed one, and it's incredible. I think you saw a little bit of that with Chad, right? I mean, you got a taste of it. Chad is a professional in our game, and it's no different than, you go to a Supercross and, I was one of the guys that was fortunate enough to go down and do a track walk, and you think, you got to be kidding me. You're going to come out of this corner, you got 20 feet to the face of a 75-foot triple. There is no way. And they just do it lap after lap like it's nothing, and so when you get to see a professional do something, it's like, that's incredible. What separates them? It's the minimizing the mistakes, right? That's where I thought we had some similarities between the two games. Cause I raced amateur motocross, nothing at your level, David, but, I did do that, and I've raced some other sports, and then I came back to sporting clays, I should say. And it just hit me. It's like, wow, there's so many similarities. Versus, you guys sustain a heart rate of, what is it, David? A 180 through most of a moto?
Yeah, I would say Supercross is somewhere between 180 and 190. Races are about 20 minutes long. And Nationals, you're probably more 160 to 170, but you're talking 35 minutes twice in a bunch of heat and humidity. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, both different, both difficult. To try to, just be bumping up against your anaerobic threshold for 20 minutes and knowing that any little blip in mental focus or clarity could result in a trip to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's it's definitely the razor's edge.
Yeah, in our game, you miss a target, you don't win. In your game, well, I've got the halo to prove what happens. So, and I'm being serious about that. But yeah, anyway, moving on to, one of the things I want to talk to you about, David, is right now Sporting Clays, in terms of growth and promotion and all that, is right about where Supercross was in the late 80s, early 90s. And I'd really like to hear your opinion on some mistakes that were made along the way in the growth of the sport that we can learn from. We meaning Sporting Clays.
Well, I'll tell you some of the things that, I'll just give you a few little things that have happened with us, and you can maybe talk about how that might relate. But there was a couple of things. I'll say this: anytime the more money comes in, right? Which we had a little bit of, we had a boom kind of in the 90s with Jeremy McGrath. He became kind of a household name, and the sport got a lot of notoriety, and it grew. And then it wasn't really until, and we had like Coors Light and Camel cigarettes were like the sponsors. When those kind of petered out, that was frowned upon to be promoting tobacco and alcohol products to kids. Shocker.
Right.
The sport went looking for a new sponsor, and we had a couple of years with like video games, EA Sports, and a couple other things, and they landed on the energy drinks. Monster Energy, Red Bull, Rockstar, you name it, they're all involved. And that really has kind of supported, along with the manufacturers, our sport. And it's really, between that and a better TV package, we've seen a lot more money come into the sport. And I can tell you that a lot of people will say, man, I really want our sport to grow. I want to get bigger. I want more people to know about it, enjoy it. And that sounds cool. But the more money that gets involved, and as more people get involved, more money comes in. That's just how it's going to work. A sport loses a little bit of its soul.
Right.
The more money that is involved, you lose some of that really deep culture. And so be careful what you wish for. I'll say that. And I think motocross has kind of found our pocket where it's going to stay. It might grow incrementally here or there. It might shrink incrementally, but most folks can't relate to riding a motorcycle, right? NASCAR had got big because everyone drives a car. Okay, maybe it's a Toyota Corolla and you're just buzzing to work, but you know what it's like to do 80. So you can kind of relate to, man, I can't imagine doing 180.
Right.
That would be crazy, right? But so they can at least relate, though. Oh, I drive a car. A lot of people don't ride a motorcycle or have never ridden a motorcycle. And so they go, man, I have absolutely no reference point for this. And as such, unless someone takes them to a Supercross and kind of pulls them into the sport, they're not going to gravitate towards it.
Right.
I think there's some of that with Sporting Clays where if you've shot a gun at all, then you probably know what it is. And if, as they start to see it on TV more and just see it becoming a bigger and bigger thing, they're more likely to tune in or join or whatever. But you're going to have some of that because there's a large group of our populace, mostly a bunch of liberal, limp-wristed dandies who've never shot a gun. They're never going to shoot a gun. They think the guns are,
evil,
of the devil.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think you have some self-limiting factors just like motocross does. And I would say this, that's okay. It's okay. I don't, when people in my sport now go, man, why can't our guys get paid like football players? Or why isn't there, I wish it was bigger. People respected it more and understood it more. And I'm like, don't, because, money just corrupts it. Money, like I said, kind of sucks the soul out of it. I don't know, that really pure part of it
Yeah.
Back at least when I got started riding in the early 80s, when it was just for fun, there was no money, and like even when I first turned pro, there wasn't guys making a ton of money in the sport. It has grown that way, and I've watched it also lose that just some of that, like I said, that core foundation. So
Yeah.
I would say be careful of that. Be careful of promoters, because if you get a promoting group that gets too much power,
Mm-hmm.
like we've had this happen where two different promoting, it bounced through different promoting groups. Supercross did, and motocross. And then ultimately at the end here, they've sort of teamed up, and now they run all of it, and they have so much control over everything. There is no riders union. And so there really is no way for them to be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they can take advantage and manipulate things and change things regardless of what's best for the riders. Like, I think you and I would probably both agree that there's too many rounds in a year.
Yeah.
The riders are racing 31 rounds out of the year here in the US. Then we have the Motocross of Nations, which is like our Olympics. Racers from all over the world meet up and compete against one another. There's a handful of international supercrosses that are kind of staples on the calendar. One in Paris, one in Italy. There's one in Australia, the AUS-X Open. So a handful of those. And by the time you add that all up, it's like, man, these guys are getting maybe 3-4 weeks off out of the year.
Right.
That's not normal. That isn't healthy. And especially a sport this physical, you can't ask guys to do that. So anyway, I'm saying all that, just be careful of how much power any one promoter gets. I think that's another issue.
Okay.
Those would be the two main things, like I said, our sport has grown, and the promoters, and I would say they don't have bad intentions. They may have profit kind of at the forefront, but they also know that in order for profit to happen, they've got to improve things.
Yeah.
I would say the TV package is 1,000 times better. Spectator viewing areas and conditions are way better. They've done a good job, but it would be nice to see riders have some more representation or have more of a voice when it comes to something like that. Like, hey, we're doing too many rounds. You guys need to roll about 4 or 5 of these off the schedule.
Right.
Because of course they're not going to freely give those up. That's money right out of their pocket, and they don't ultimately care about the riders. They want to, run the events and make the money.
Right. It's, if you go back to late 90s, early 2000s, at one time we had Buick, Chevrolet was a sponsor in sporting clays. We had the PSCA, which was Professional Sporting Clays Association. Some of that was televised, but they tried to change the game to make it more TV friendly. They were shooting off on a stage that was not, like out on the course, what you're seeing like for our national championship. So I think, and you can finger point at a million different things that went on back then as to why it didn't work. But like right now, our national championship keeps growing and breaking records every year, how big it's getting. The cool thing about our sport, as opposed to NASCAR or motocross or any of these other sports, is anybody can participate in this game. I mean, the age is 8 to, we've got people north of 80 years old that are competing in this game. In fact, we even had a gentleman on our show at one time that put the golf clubs up and grabbed a shotgun and started competing. And at the time, he was 83 years old. I think he's 85 now. And I can't go to a tournament anywhere in Florida without me seeing him there. Like he's just ate up with it. And the cool thing about our sport too is you can actually be squatted with and shoot a tournament with one of the big name pros. You're not going to go play basketball with Michael Jordan, right? You're not going to go out and go riding with Jet Lawrence or, run around the track in your family sedan with Dale Earnhardt, right? Or Dale Earnhardt Jr. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the cool thing about our sport, but it is growing. It is getting big, and everybody's always, because right now we're kind of self-funded. If you look at all the sponsorships at any big event, it's all within the industry. It's, gun related or ammo related or something to do with eyes or ears or vests or something. You know what I'm saying? It's all within the industry.
Yeah, there's nothing non-endemic.
Yeah, and people are begging for that, is to have outside corporate sponsorship. And I think it's needed, but it's interesting to hear you say just watch what you wish for, because I could see where it could get out of hand very quick.
Yeah, and I'll say something else. Another issue we've had is this, thanks to California once again. We ran through a period of time in the early 2000s where the California Air Resource Board, CARB, determined that two-stroke motors were major polluters and had to be outlawed. And they passed a bunch of legislation that ultimately forced all the manufacturers, the Japanese manufacturers at the time, to make a big switch and say, okay, we're going away from two-stroke engines and everything's going to be four-stroke. And they had to try to figure out, okay, if we're racing 125 and 250 two-strokes, then what size four-strokes would be competitive? I mean, a two-stroke engine, you can run half the CCs and make more horsepower. It's a much more efficient power plant. But because you can see the exhaust coming out of the tailpipe, the tree huggers think, oh, it's eating the ozone, or whatever they think it's doing.
Right.
Where in reality, there's a lot more moving parts in a four-stroke. You have to change the oil more often. Most folks are not recycling oil the way they should. It just gets dumped in a hole out in the backyard. And what's that doing to groundwater? And I could make an argument it's worse.
Right.
But anyway, all of that to say, when the price of a bike used to be $5,000, $6,000 for a brand new 250, now you're paying $10,000 for a 450. And so we are starting to price ourselves right out of business. And what started as a very easy entry point, a kid could get a paper route, make himself a few $100, buy an old 125, and he was off to the hills or the track to get started. That's impossible now. That doesn't happen. I mean,
Right.
It's thousands and thousands of dollars to get started. And so I will say this, and I didn't really think about it till after you were telling me the cost of the shotguns. They're expensive. I had no idea. I mean, I've got a $500 little CZ, pistol grip, 12 gauge pump action.
Right.
But I would tell you this: when you start, if you want to keep the sport healthy, make sure you have entry level classes where you don't have to have a $10,000 shotgun to come out and compete. There's got to be cheap entry level classes because the minute, and this happens, it happened in pit bike racing. I don't know if you remember that whole phenomenon, but
Yep.
little, and it sounds completely ridiculous, grown men riding around on little 50cc kids bikes. But that started in backyards, while people were drinking beers, having fun. It turned into like actually sanctioned race series. And then they ultimately had a Supercross final, the Minimoto Supercross in the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas for a handful of years until the economy pooped out in 08. But
yeah, I remember that very well. I'm actually friends with Willie Browning. So yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah. And Willie was a huge success in that series.
I raced with Willie. Yep. I won a championship there in the 50 class one year. And I remember standing on the podium, and I think I got a $6,000 check for winning. And I'm like, this is insane. I'm here riding a kid's bike in an arena and I just won $6,000.
Yeah.
But anyway, that started as a, $600-800 pit bike was how it started. And by the end, the bike I was racing was, it was close to $10,000. It had a 125cc dual overhead cam engine in it, and I'm like, this is nuts.
Well, you brought up CARB in California, and our friends over the pond are beating their fists on the table right now listening to this because they've already started dealing with it with lead. They're already having to shoot, some areas are having to shoot steel shot and fiber wads, no plastic on the ground. So, and the performance of those shells, I'm just going to go ahead and sum it up, sucks. I mean, like,
is that right?
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, and don't get me wrong. The shell manufacturers are trying very hard to make it work, but it's terrible. And there's already some areas here that, you can't shoot over any kind of water that runs through your property. In other words, if it enters from outside your property and exits outside your property, you cannot, you can contaminate that water. But they do lead reclamation here. But we got to be careful because it could very easily go that direction. And that would really hamper the sport. Not saying it would kill it, but it would really hamper the sport. Some of those targets you were hitting at Hoggies, some of those big ones we put you on, you're not going to hit those targets with lead or with steel shot. I mean, people argue this, but the effectiveness of steel shot is terrible compared to lead. So, it's possible we could run into those problems real quick if we don't, pay attention. But, David, I did have a couple of questions for you that Sean, the guy I normally do this podcast with, sent over to me. If you want, we'll rip through some of those. And then Matt Miller, who's very jealous that I went out to California and shot with you. He's a big motocross, supercross friend of mine, great shooter out of Georgia. He sent a couple questions over too. So if you don't mind, we'll rip through some of these real quick.
Okay, let's do it.
Sean said, once you saw the AMA was growing, did you notice anything they were doing to make potential audience and spectators more aware of the sport and want to watch and or attend? Example, advertising through radio, newspapers, TV, magazines, or was it more grassroots, like working with motorcycle shops, clubs, and giving out tickets to events, et cetera, et cetera? Obviously, social media wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah, our sport's done a pretty good job. Supercross always tried to reach local news stations more, TV, radio, where I think with motocross, it was more grassroots, flyers in dealerships, at local tracks. They're trying to get the people that are actually participants to really show up because, although it's the same people doing both sports, they're uniquely different, as you know. And a supercross, you don't have to really be a even rider to go enjoy a supercross. If you just like motorsports or just entertainment, competition in general, you could go to a supercross and you'll have a blast. It is a show.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch. But you go to a national, it's usually hot and humid. You're walking a lot. You're standing in the sun all day. It might rain. And it's cool because you can get right next to the fence and you'll get hit with roost as they're going by. I mean, you're right next to the action, but you got to earn it. You know what I mean? It's not easy to go to a motocross national. So I think they kind of were after two different clientele a little bit, to be honest.
Okay.
But Supercross has done a great job for a long time. I mean, they had Jeremy and Travis Pastrana on the Jay Leno show. Just whatever kind of the popular media outlets are at the time, because they were owned by Clear Channel, which puts on a lot of concerts. Now they're owned by Feld, which used to own Barnum and Bailey circuses, and they own all the monster truck stuff, and they got a lot of horsepower as a business. And so they were able to kind of, plug in some of our superstars into different things. Hayden Deegan just had some deal. I think Monster helped put it on, or they went to New York and shot something with Haley Deegan and Brian and Haley and Hayden with their car and bike in Times Square, and they did some photo shoot up in the Empire State Building. So when you've got companies like Monster and like Feld and now NBC, which is in contract with those sports, you got a lot of horsepower to get in front of some eyeballs with the right circumstances. And so they've taken good, advantage of that.
Yeah.
And then, yes, these days, social media, man. I mean, that's really where it's at.
Sean's got another question here. It says, to your knowledge, was there a lot of debate on how to advertise the sport to attract an audience? Was there any debate in that back in the golden era, I guess you could say, the late 80s, early 90s, just for Supercross specifically?
Not as far as how to market it. I mean, we would try. I know they tried a lot of venues, and some of them work, some don't. Some areas just don't really care about motorsports, and others it does really well. So that's just sort of hit and miss.
Yeah,
trial and error. But as far as the marketing plan, it's been pretty consistent. I've done a good job with it.
Well, I think that pretty much answered this next question he had was there money being spent for certain advertising promotions that didn't work or wasn't very effective to attract the right audience? So you pretty much answered that. He also said, was there a magic bullet that really seemed to draw in the crowds and spectators? If so, what was it?
Well, I think the thing that there's two parts to that. The sport itself has to be attractive. And like I said, both of our sports have things that make them very cool, but also they both have limiting factors like we discussed, right? And so I think what people really connect with is other people. When you have a legend, like maybe it's this Brandon guy, maybe he's the guy that will kind of throw the sport on his shoulders and carry it. With Supercross and Motocross, it really started with like Bob Hanna and even Roger DeCoster before that, then Bob Hanna in the 80s,
Yep.
Jeremy McGrath in the 90s, Ricky Carmichael, James Stewart was a really fun era, and then now we're in the Jet Lawrence era.
Yeah.
And you have these guys who it's always fun to have like this just incredible talent like Jet is now. But a lot of people don't like him, just like a lot of people didn't like Jeremy because he just won so much.
Right.
Man, I just want to see somebody else win. So then when you have like a Kevin Windham or an Eli Tomac, these are the guys that raced well into their 30s, were around forever, just good personalities and have a huge fan base. That's what people connect with. That's what brings people out, when they think this might be Eli's last season. I gotta go see him at a race.
Right.
I think people connect with personalities and people more so than just like, oh, this guy shoots the type of gun I shoot, or he, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
This guy rides for a team that I like. But if you don't connect with that person, you don't care, just not
Right.
affecting you. So I would say, and like right now in our sport, there's always been sort of the good guy and the bad guy, right? And you need a little bit of that. So
Yeah.
I would say there almost has to be, the guys have to kind of play up their character and their personality a little bit. And I don't mean be something they're not, but personality is what sells tickets. And like Hayden Deegan, I mean, he is loudmouthed and brash and cocky.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it is done on purpose. I think he does it because that's the persona he wants to have. Where Jet is very humble, he's very professional, and that's the image they want to portray, right? And it's
Right.
the people that like Jet hate Hayden, and the people that hate Hayden, they like Jet. It's just you got to have that good guy, bad guy thing. I think it's good for the sport. So, or you have like Aaron Plessinger, right? He's the cowboy. He's the motocross cowboy. And there's a big group of people that just love that. He gets, I mean, as you've heard, he gets more cheers than a lot of the racers that do better than him.
I don't think there's nothing I've read on, and just so everybody knows, I still follow motocross and supercross, like all the media outlets, all that. I don't think I've ever read anything, seen anything, or heard anything from anybody that doesn't like Aaron Plessinger. I relate him. He's the modern day Travis Pastrana. Like, everybody likes him. I mean, like,
Yeah.
he's a good dude. He's a lot of fun, very entertaining, can get it done on a motorcycle, and we have those people in our sport. The problem is the persona and everything that they have is either through podcasts like this one, or it's something that they read in a magazine. We just don't have that TV to really bring them out, or of course, social media. And unfortunately, that's where both sports are living right now.
Yeah, social media for you guys, if you don't have the TV or the media outlets to provide content, or if those guys have a YouTube channel, or the sport has a YouTube channel where people are getting their content, I mean, that's what I would say to focus on is try to bring the personality out of these top athletes. So people get to kind of connect with them and go, you know what, this guy's cool. He's kind of my vibe. And then they get someone to cheer for. And once you have somebody to cheer for, they're hooked, they're in, as long as that guy's in the sport. So, and that's one thing that you guys have that we don't. And this is a problem with motocross, is we have a lot of turnover. Because by the time you're 30, we'll tell you guys have about 10 years and they turn pro around 19, 20 typically. So by the time they hit around 30, it's like the clock's ticking. And some of them, we've seen a few rare cases, Chad Reed and Wyndham go to like 35, but like that's it. And they're done. And while some of them will hang around as an ambassador role, like Villapoto, or they'll manage a team maybe, most of them just disappear, poof, and they're gone.
Yeah.
And our sport forgets about them quick. And then you get these young new kids in. And if the fan doesn't reconnect with another rider, we lose fans. They go, I don't even know any of these guys anymore. And they kind of walk, they can walk away.
Yeah.
Because your sport is safe. Like you just said, you got a guy 80 some years old out, just getting after it. You guys have longevity. So as long as the guys can just stay sharp and competitive, you can keep them in the sport for a long time. It's not, they're not going to get hurt and kind of age out.
Right. And you're absolutely right. I've never really looked at it in that perspective. And I always knew that motocross had a short life cycle. We won't talk about my amateur career. But I always knew.
Well, look at how many people loved Kevin Wyndham.
Yeah.
He was like Aaron Plessinger before there was Aaron Plessinger.
Right.
And he would do his transfers, right? Like he had his little persona. But once he left, people were really left kind of going, well, who do I cheer for now? And then it was Reed because he was the only other guy out there. And then he retired, and now, maybe they latched onto Eli or whoever, but it is a problem our sport has and something that you guys don't, and you should capitalize on. And that's even more reason to invest in these personalities and let guys show who they are. And if you're a hillbilly, tobacco spitting, then man, just lean into it.
Yeah.
If you're a nerd, lean into it. If you're you like death metal and you're, whatever it is, just lean into it and really let that personality come through, because those different personas and personalities, that's what people will gravitate towards. It's not necessarily like, here's 4 guys, they all shoot really well, I'll just cheer for this guy. They're connecting to them for some reason, and you got to give them a reason to connect.
Yeah. And you know what? That leads right into Matt Miller's question is, he says here, with huge success of Drive to Survive, Full Swing, and Breakpoint, which showcases the best personalities of F1 drivers, golfers, and tennis players, how do you gauge the importance of showcasing the people behind the sport? I think you just summed that up. I think you just answered that.
Drive to Survive is a perfect example. How many new fans of Formula One have come out of the woodwork because of that show? And that show, all it did was show the personalities in the sport. Oh, this guy's a hothead. Oh, this guy's cocky. This guy's, you get to see him and know him. And maybe you hate a guy, but you're like, oh, I'm going to tune in and see what that asshole says this week. It sucked you in. And it's the personalities that do it. And so our sport, your sport, doesn't matter, man. That I really feel like that's the answer. That's what these marketing teams should really be paying attention to, and almost sitting down with the riders and kind of going, okay, well, what are you into? What do you like? Oh, okay, let's lean into that, like I'll give you an example. Like if I was Levi Kitchen right now, okay, he's a younger racer in our sport, last name Kitchen, so he's gotten the nickname the Chef. All right, I know we're kind of simpletons over here in the dirt bike world, but I would be leaning into that so hard. I would go take cooking classes. I would do something at the races every weekend where I made something and gave it to fans, like some type of food. Hey, you can come over and sample.
Yeah.
I don't care if he even likes cooking. Just that's kind of your name and nickname and your deal. Lean into it. He's already got people showing up. He's got a YouTube series called Yes Chef. He's got people showing up with, cooking bibs on and a big chef hats. Like, lean into it, you know?
Yeah, he should be walking.
That's my advice.
He should be walking around the autograph session with a chef's apron on, with all of his sponsors on the apron or something.
Totally,
like
100%.
Totally agree with you. Lean into it, and I've said this before. It's the Howard Stern effect, because we've had people on this show that are just absolutely hated in the sporting clays world, but they're big personalities, and half the people listen because they love the guy and they want to hear what he has to say. And the other half of the people listen because they hate the guy and they want to know what he's going to say. And it's been some of our biggest episodes. It really has, but I agree with you. I mean, lean into, man, David, you really hit the nail on the head there. I mean, like I said, I always knew that motocross had a short life cycle and we had a longer one, but I never thought about capitalizing on that. And I think you're right. I think the personalities is what's going to drive the sport. That's something that we've never really capitalized on.
Yeah, and you guys are in a unique spot too. Like one of the things that stifles that in our sport is the bigger sponsors. You get a big corporate sponsor like Honda, okay, and then like Dungey had Target, and Nike has been involved at some point. It's like when you have a big corporate sponsor like that, you can't really get off the rails too much. You know what I mean?
Right.
They will frown upon that big time. Because you guys still have like those endemic sponsors, those inside of your industry sponsors, they're going to probably be a little more open to you letting your freak flag fly. You know what I mean? Be yourself, be, genuinely who you are out loud without kind of frowning upon it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, that's another side effect of your sport growing. More money coming in, bigger sponsors, more corporate. And it becomes more corporate and less core. And that's what I meant when I say you lose some of your soul, man. Like you give it up for the dollars. And on the one hand, you go, well, good for the athletes. They deserve it, man. But it's also sad. You watch your sport kind of sell out a little bit. And
well, that's the other fortunate thing that we have about our sport. You talked about money and the expense of the shotguns. I mean, you saw Chad and I's gun. I think I sent you the link to the raffle gun that we're doing here through the podcast. That, the MSRP on that gun's almost $32,000.
It's insane.
But
you know how sick of a 61 Cadillac I could buy with that money?
but here's something for you. I think it was 4 years ago now. Joe Finizzi, fabulous young shooter in our sport, won the national championship with a Beretta A400 semi-automatic shotgun, and you can go buy that gun right now for $1,400. Now, he's had some work done to it, okay? Like, his gun's probably to the tune of $3,000 or $3,500. But the point is, he got it done with a less expensive shotgun. Everybody, They see, okay, for example, Brandon. Well, Brandon won. He's got a Krieghoff, and I'm going to go run out and buy a $30,000 Krieghoff that looks like Brandon's. Well, it's not going to make you shoot any better. Whereas in motocross, if you don't have the same equipment as a factory guy, you're not going to beat him on a motocross track. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. I mean.
Well, it's similar. I mean, if you're a beginner, I don't care if you have a Works Yamaha, you're not going any faster on that than you are a completely stock bike.
Right.
You don't have the skills. So that's all I'm saying is make sure you guys don't ever lose a really affordable entry point. So keep those, I don't know what you call it. In our sport, it's the stock class, no modifications allowed, stock motorcycles. So, and even still, like I said, we've priced ourselves out because the price of a stock bike's still $10,000. But
well, the killer in our sport right now is ammo. And that's something that we can't control. We meaning the participants of the sport. I mean, that really falls back on the ammo manufacturers. The problem is it all started with right about COVID. You could buy a case, or what we call a flat, of ammo, 10 boxes, 250 rounds, of good premium ammo. I mean, if you did your shopping right, especially if somebody was having a sale for, $60-65 on the high end. I mean, I could tell you stories of, go back a couple more years from like 2018. I was getting, good quality premium ammo for $55 a flat. Today, that same ammo on the East Coast over here, that same ammo today is $125 a flat. And in California, thanks to your governor and the added tax he's put on it, Chad will tell you that same ammo is $165 a flat. So when you look at going out and practicing now, when you and I and Chad were out there, we each shot about, I don't know, I'd say probably 125, 150 rounds. When we go out and practice, we usually burn a case at a time. I mean, I'm using we loosely. Okay. Some guys practice with less, some guys practice with a lot more in a day, but you start adding that up. And if you're, an avid competitor, regardless of what class you're in, you could burn between tournaments and practice. You could burn, 8 to 10,000 rounds in a year. You start figuring the cost in that. It's expensive. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not race gas and buying a new set of Dunlops for every single event, but the cost can escalate quickly. Then you add the gun. If you buy the right gun, it'll last you forever if you take care of it. I know it's an initial big expense, but any of the big gun manufacturers, we're big Kohler advocates here on the Dead Pair podcast, but a Krieghoff, a Perazzi, any of these high-end guns, they're going to last you forever. A bike, you wear out a bike in the summer, dude. Trust me, I know, I've been there. But so for that aspect of it, I think the gun price is something you can kind of swallow a little bit because, like I said, if you take care of it, you'll hand it to your kid and your kid will wear it out and they'll rebuild it and they'll hand it to their, your grandkid. But the ammo is one of the expenses that continues to grow. And another thing too that continues to grow is the cost of the targets. The targets themselves have got more and more expensive to manufacture. And it's just the way that we're trending right now. You know this, David. Everything's gone up since COVID. So,
oh yeah, tell me about it. Concrete is wild. Wood is out of control. It's
yeah. And then you add politics into it, and here we go again, right? So, but it's just it's interesting because both sports have their challenges, but I would say in terms of growth, you guys are light years ahead of us, but I remember the late 80s, early 90s, and it's so comparable from Supercross then to what Sporting Clays is now. And I thought it'd be an interesting conversation. So, but what do you think, man? Are you hook, line, and sinker? You going to go shooting some more?
Yeah, I love it. We're definitely going up. And it's funny because I came home and I was showing my two daughters there, and I've had them out shooting a couple times before. And I was showing them the videos and they're like, Dad, let's go. When can we go? I mean, they're so excited. And my wife as well, she's always worried, especially when I'm at the fire station. She's like, I'm not proficient enough with this gun. Like if somebody breaks in here, I'm just going to start, blowing rounds because I need to be better with this gun. And, I said, all right, we need to get you out and get all of us more comfortable with it. So they're excited. And like I told you, I want to do some type of competition with my Whiskey Throttle Media partners and sponsors and do something this fall. So
yeah,
we'll definitely work with you guys on that.
Let's put it together. I guess we'll go ahead and drop that bomb. Ping and I are trying to put together a shoot where we have professional motocross riders and we'd like some pro Sporting Clay shooters that can come and play pro for a day and kind of squad with them and put on a big charity event, if you will. And I know, Ping, you're a big supporter of what's the name of the organization again? The Road to Recovery. I keep calling it Rider Recovery. It's Road to Recovery. And then, of course, we're big supporters of Kids and Clays here at the Dead Pair Podcast. So we'll probably, put this together and send the proceeds to both of those organizations. So be looking for that, everyone. I'm sure there'll be lots of people that want to sign up and go to that. So looking to raise some money and have a lot of fun doing it. I propose to Chad to do something like, the Surfer Cross that you guys used to do. You still do that?
It still happens. In fact, August, I think 3rd and 4th or 4th and 5th, it's coming up.
I told Chad, I said, how cool would it be to have Rahagi go out there and build us a little pit bike track and we'll do Sporting Clays and pit. And he's like, no way in hell I'm letting you back on a bike. I'm like, come on, man. He's like, nope. I'm like, come on. It'd be fun. We've got some interesting characters in our sport. I'd love to see them on a bike. So
we'll make you the 30-second card girl. You can go out there and share a hot pants.
Yeah, no, not happening. Not happening. I might be able to talk my wife into it, but I ain't doing it.
Right.
But
I think we'd all appreciate that.
yeah, you're not going to catch me out there in a banana hammock. It ain't happening. So, but we just wrapped up our SCTP Nationals. Just wrapped up, and it's kind of comparable to Loretta Lynn's. The amateur nationals in motocross. This was our amateur nationals and Sporting Clays, and I haven't got the numbers yet. My buddy Jake Spangler is general manager at the Cardinal Center where they put that event on. Last year, there was 3,500 kids, and he had told me, looking at registration, looks like they were going to break those numbers this year. And you think about that for a minute, David. You were talking about the safety in this game. That's 3,500 kids that are shooting over 1 million rounds in a week and no injuries, you know. You were talking about getting your wife and kids out there. What better way for them to learn safety and fundamentals? Because unlike a pistol range where they would shoot and lay the gun down on the table, you know, all that kind of thing, they're going from cage to cage. You experienced it, and it kind of ingrains that safety in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they get a little bit more proficient handling a firearm, and your wife that's a little nervous about it all of a sudden gains some confidence in it, you know? So there's a lot of fundamentals there that they can learn, just firearm fundamentals in general, just from being
absolutely.
on the course.
And I'm always looking for anything. This is why I love snow skiing with my kids. I love surfing with them, going out and riding dirt bikes together. Anything that gets them off their phone where I can just spend some quality time with them.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably speaking to a lot of parents who deal with the same thing. I mean, it's just these phones have just taken over, and it's hard to get them to set them down and just go do something with you. And especially as they get older and they've got friends and boyfriends and they're working, and my youngest plays soccer competitively. So it's that those moments are fleeting. And so if this is something else where I'm like, man, we could go up here to the Rahagis and spend 3-4 hours, whatever the heck it is. And maybe they pull their phone out to video a couple of times, but like, we're going to all be, you know, talking and working with, you know what I mean? It's like good quality time where we can actually spend some time as a family. And that's, to me, that was kind of the first thing I thought is my girls could do this and we could come up and do this together and have fun. And it's something, you know, like with motocross, they obviously can't ride at my level. So yeah, I'll go putt around and trail ride with them and stuff. And it's fine. But like this, we can all do it together on the same course, same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just really friendly that way. So
yeah.
And shoot, who knows? Maybe if we all get into it enough, maybe we go sign up for a tournament. And
dude, let me know if you want. I can get right now the NSCA, the National Sporting Clays Association, has free 1-year memberships they're giving out. So if you guys want to sign up, you know, you get a little taste of what it's all about. Let you, you know, thumb through the rule book and check out their website and everything, and kind of get a little better understanding for it if that's something you ever want to fathom.
Well, listen, buddy, I got to get some reps in first. Otherwise, I'll be starting my own podcast called the Alive Pair Podcast.
The Alive Pair Podcast. The Lost Pair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's addictive, man. It's not as addictive as, I mean, if you're an adrenaline junkie, nothing's as addictive as motocross, but it's a hell of a lot safer and a much better way to go home to your wife and kids in the evening, or your significant other, and enjoy yourself for the day. Which motocross, you might be going home in an ambulance. Trust me, I know, I've been there. So it's I don't know, man. It's ages 8 to, well, I told you, over 80, 85, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, the one thing, going back to what we were talking about earlier real quick, the one thing we do have a little bit of a problem with is how to film it. You know, that was the thing of, like you said, about Supercross versus motocross. Supercross is in the stadium. You can sit in one seat, see the whole track, see all the riders going around. Motocross, you're hiking, right? Like Washougal is not somewhere you're going to go look at all the track while they're racing, unless you're into hiking. And that's kind of the same with our sport. You know, I mean, can you imagine a tournament? You were there at Rahagis. You imagine a tournament where you have pros spread out across all 15 stations at the same time. You know, you're not going to capture everything. You're not going to see everything. And we do a thing now at the World Championship called a super final, where after the event is over, they all the top shooters come together from that event and shoot 25 more rounds, you know, in an area where all the spectators are. And I personally love it because it brings that viewpoint, right, from the spectator side into the game. There's some people at the top of the game that hate it. They think, well, I've already won, I shouldn't have to go shoot another 25. So there's a few things we need to work out in our sport to make it happen. to where it is a little bit more spectator friendly, a little bit more easier to film. But I think we're on the cusp of getting there. I think I know how you warned us, but I think that's what we're lacking is that corporate sponsorship, outside corporate sponsorship of some kind to get us the funds to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, that's the trade-off. I'm just giving you the warning there that kind of, down home family feel that it has will get further and further away the more money that comes in. But you'll get more exposure, there'll be more money, bigger purses. So just know that that's the trade-off. I actually don't see spectators that being that big of a deal. Easy, at least at Rahagi's, and I don't know what all of them look like, but you could throw a little set of bleachers behind the stands and easy for people to watch. And as far as TV, I see it being a lot like golf, or maybe you have one crew set up at one station and they're getting everybody as they rotate through there. And then you have maybe one or two more that are kind of roving and they're following around the bigger players, kind of tracking them, and it just pops from stand to stand, right? I mean,
yeah.
But I say that, I mean, you're talking about pretty good dollars to make that happen. And in motocross, up until sometime, I would say around into the 2000s, we were buying TV time on ESPN2.
Yeah.
And then trying to sell enough ads to cover it, and didn't. So,
yeah. We're covering the national championship right now. I mean, it's been dabbled with in the last 3 years with doing it live here and there. But again, it's all self-funded. Imagine the AMA if they were, self-funding the broadcast, right? And that's basically what we're up against. And it's been hit or miss. I mean, there's been complaints, there's been praise that we at least tried. There's been a lot of things, but right now, I mean, as much as you and I curse cell phones, that's pretty much where everybody's viewing everything through YouTube and somebody's phone. So, but it's, at least we're trying, and they are covering 10 stations at the national championship, for the final round. They put all the pros together in what they call the pro squad. So it's nothing but pros on the squad. And to try and help fund that a little bit, they've made it to where, David Pingree can bid for a chance to shoot on the pro squad with that group of pros, and to try and raise some funding that way. So it's just, we're trying to get our wings, and right now we're, can barely walk around the nest. So,
something else you guys could do that I think is unique to your sport, is Pro-Am. So, like in golf, right? They'll have a pro golfer with some celebrity, right? Mm-hmm. But even in that case, the celebrity has to know how to golf. He can't go out there and completely suck.
Right.
You guys could get, team up a pro shooter with a singer, an actor, an athlete, whatever. In a quick session, you could teach them how to shoot, and they could jump right in, and they might not be great, but for you guys getting exposure for your sport, that celebrity is going to get, have a blast. They'll be posting it on their social media. And that's a great way to get networks to want to cover it and get a lot of exposure, because then they're going to post it on their social media. They've got millions of followers.
Right.
Anyway, that in my mind, I'm looking at going, that's something we can't do. I can't take some famous person and throw him on a dirt bike and kill himself.
Right.
So just something you guys have that would be so easy. Well, easy to do, now easy to set up. That's another story, but take the right people. But, like this weekend at Washougal, Cam, what's his name? Is it Haynes? Oh man, I'm brain farting. He's the bow hunter and endurance athlete.
Oh, yeah. He did.
He was the grand marshal, and he did like a little bow shooting thing with Eli Tomac and Garrett Marchbanks. And anyway, a guy like him, you don't think he would come over and do that? He'd probably love that, you know? So anyway, he was just on Joe Rogan. So, I mean, this guy's blowing up, super famous and popular. He's got that Keep Hammering podcast that he does. You could probably talk him into doing that in a heartbeat. And again, then he shares with his millions of followers. And I just think that would be a really good avenue for you guys, because there's no there's no risk for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Easy for them to do. And maybe actors in Hollywood would be a tough sell because guns are naughty, and they're
it takes a little bit of brass for one of them to do it. I mean, Don Jr. usually shows up at the Jack Links Cup every year and participates, shoots. But famous, yes. Political, yes. And
but that's okay. I mean, that's all right. Get who's that Minnesota governor, Tim Walz? Get him to come out too. See if he doesn't shoot himself in the foot or something.
Yeah. Jeez.
Then you got somebody from both sides.
Yeah. Well, that might turn into the shootout at the OK Corral. But well, David, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, which, by the way, everyone, get over to Whiskey Throttle Media and check it out. You can see what David does. He also has a YouTube channel called Whiskey Throttle Media. Guys, check that out and, watch some of the shows he does, like the one he did with Grant Langston, Code Red. That's absolutely hilarious. But then he does some really exclusive interviews and stuff with these riders, and it's very entertaining. Even if you're not into motocross and supercross, you need to check it out. Of course, everyone, don't forget 10% off of either RE Ranger or Taconic Distilleries. 10% off your order. Use the code DEADPAIR10 at checkout. Folks, this is what Sean and I have been preaching every week, week in and week out. Take someone new shooting, take them to a tournament. Look, I've looked up to David Pingree for a very long time, and this is somebody that I had the opportunity, and I jumped on a plane, went to California, and I took this guy shooting for the first time and introduced him to sporting clays. And he already said it right here on this podcast. He might even dabble in a tournament. So you never know. Don't be afraid to take your boss, your neighbor, a relative, a friend, take someone new shooting, introduce them to sport, show them why Sean and I love it so much and why we brag about it every week on the Dead Pair podcast. David, thank you again, man. Sincerely appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course, man. I appreciate you putting the time in to, wait on my scheduling and take me shooting. That was a blast. I had so much fun. So you definitely kind of hooked me in, and I'll be doing more of it. I can guarantee you that. So we'll stay in touch. Let's try to put together this group shoot. And when I'm ready, we'll pull the trigger. We'll find a tournament around here and literally go pull the trigger.
There you go. And if nothing else, if you're ever over here in Florida, when those guys are doing winter training or whatnot, man, pop in. Just don't hesitate to call me. Let's go shooting. Maybe we'll get JP from the Clay Lab to film it while we're out shooting. That'd be a lot of fun, man.
Hey, you got a deal.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, everyone, until next week, we can't wait to see y'all back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.
We'll see you next time on the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kohler Arms, the mark of performance, and is fueled by Fiocchi USA. The Dead Pair theme song was written, arranged, and produced by Toby Tomplay. Special thanks to the following sponsors: Atlas Traps, Ranger Performance Eyewear, Rhino Chokes, Long Range LLC, Taconic Distillery, Score Chaser, and Clay Range Design Works.